Welcome back to our Fringe Festival Special from Granville Island. I'm Johanna Ward and you're watching The Express. Now what do you think of when you think of clowning? Maybe the big red nose, the bike horns, the floppy shoes? Well, the Dusty Flower Pot Cabaret wants to change your mind and take you back to the old school art of clowning, when comedy was all about moving your feet.
You won't catch any of these performers at the circus.
It's not birthday party clowning. I have no idea how to blow up or tie a balloon.
What the bonk was that?
Because this is clowning for purists. No slapstick, no makeup, just goofy, spontaneous fun.
I've passed kidney stones with more grace than that.
Audience interaction, breaking down the fourth wall, being present in the moment with what's happening, playing, being in the body of delight, which is a place where you're keen to play and you're open to the moment.
They are the Dusty Flower Pot Cabaret, a collective of performers who are bringing back old-fashioned clowning and vaudeville routines of the 1930s.
I think what's exciting about vaudeville and theater is that it was a time before we all started watching television and movies as the main source of entertainment. And it was crass and rude and hilarious and musical. People went because it was the thing that the communities did to entertain themselves.
It's a mix of comedy, song, and dance. Cat Single Dane choreographed most of the raucous swing numbers.
It feels like the dance in itself expresses a love of life. It's a joyful kind of dance.
For Fringe Fest, the group is putting on a piece called The Illumination of the Grumpy Guitarist. It's the story of
George Chesterfield, Mr. George Chesterfield.
a crotchety old man who hates everything except for his ukulele and Beyonce.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies.
There's definitely lots of fun in this old guy trying to put on his show, and then there's all sorts of ridiculous interruptions that he has to deal with.
The perfect material for an old-fashioned good time. I'm Tim Chung in Vancouver for The Express.
The show's called The Illumination of the Grumpy Guitarist, and it's playing at the Review stage. It's not just song and dance. The group also has magicians and puppeteers in the show. A bit of a different theme with our next Fringe show, dealing with love, loss, and giving up hope, told through the eyes of a whale and a spaceman.
There's something fishy going on here at Granville Island.
There's a crash-landed spaceman. There's a whale. They're at the end of their ropes.
We're talking life and death here.
And they need you, the audience, to decide what they should do, whether they should give up or keep fighting.
It's a bit of like a sci-fi comedy with heart.
But the play Lost in Place doesn't begin until the two characters are in costume.
I play Martha the whale. Well, I can eat whatever I want, because at the end of the day, I'm in a whale costume.
Such a good sport. She's been, in that whale costume since we started.
It's hot and hard. And what's great is that kind of puts me in this kind of already cranky, sort of uncomfortable in my own skin feeling, which fuels my character very well.
Goodbye, Earth. I have enjoyed your sunsets.
Seth Solstein plays the spaceman. He also wrote the play about larger-than-life characters dealing with love, loss, and giving up hope.
Tragedy should be treated as comedy, and comedy should be treated as tragedy. If you have heavy themes, the best way to approach them is through lightness. And if you're trying to do something that's comical, the worst thing to do is to go, yuck, 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 isn't that funny? It works really well to have a whale and a spaceman to kind of guide us through some pretty heavy topics.
All right, awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Director Marissa Smith is a Fringe Fest veteran.
It is an adventure. As a theater artist, it feels like you're welcomed. It's a community.
What more can I say other than Lost in Place looks like a whale of a good time? I'm Bianca Solterbeck in Vancouver for The Express.
The writer of Lost in Place also wrote Wicked Shorts, which was part of last year's Fringe Festival. That will be showing again starting on September 21st and running through to October the 9th. You're watching The Express, and we have more from the 27th Annual Vancouver International Fringe Festival coming up.
No!
After the break,
Get out there, monster! Get out!
the one-woman show, Dianna and Me.
And he's looking at me like, hi, Brian, I'm rubbing against you.
Miming and masks with Grimm and Fisher. The Express. We are your local voice.
Community programming on Shaw has been generously sponsored in part by
hairstyling and color services for Shaw TV, provided by the Lounge Hair Studio, loungehairstudio.com.
As a Canadian, have you ever thought about how trees affect our lives? Trees work for all of us every day, in our neighborhoods, parks, schoolyards, and wilderness areas. They clean the air we breathe and help conserve the water we drink. They also provide habitat for wildlife. Trees add beauty and value to the urban and wilderness landscapes, and they provide us with many essential wood products. September 21st is National Tree Day. Let's celebrate this rich Canadian heritage.
Welcome back to our Express Fringe Special. This festival is about theater for everyone. You've got music shows and musicals, heart-wrenching dramas, and those happy satires. And of course, the dramedies, like Dianne and Me. It's a one-woman show about mothers, daughters, and the sacrifices they make.
Kissing means something, though. It does. It really does.
Actress Elena Wadko is doing some last-minute practicing down on Granville Island for her one-woman show, Dianne and Me. She plays a 15-year-old girl with a rather creative imagination, and she uses her own experiences to get into character.
15 was a great age. I knew everything when I was 15 and more, and the people who didn't agree just didn't know what life was about. Reading back into the journals when I was 15 and 16, and I can already feel my heart beating reading certain entries. And just getting in touch with my younger side. I'm already a very young and playful person, so I guess just being more of that and being a bit more silly. Then it's getting dark, so he walks me back, and we're at my house just in front.
Although Elena is the only person in this show, she has plenty of experience and skills to engage a crowd, and her colleague Jeff Bryant can attest to that.
Very present performer. That's the way she is off stage and on stage. So whether it's comedy or drama, she has really sharp instincts, and I'm sure that's going to serve her well and be revealed in this show as well.
Elena admits that being the only person on stage for almost an hour is nerve-wracking, but once it's over, it's all worth it.
Doing a solo show is very hard, and the first time I did it, I think I passed out. Like, I was so exhausted. I talk a lot, but I was a lot of talking, and I kind of fell on the ground. It was completely exhausting. You've got to have such high energy at all times, and so it's like a stamina race. It's like the Ironman of theater.
In order to enter the Fringe Festival, Elena had to come up with a production name, and her name, My Lucky Penny Productions, is more than just a name.
It's actually named after a close friend, Dennis Simpson, who passed away last year. We went for lunch together, and we were jumping up and down, and I felt so happy, sharing everything with him, and he stooped down, he found a penny on the ground, and he gave it to me, and he said, "This is for luck. It'll last longer if you give it to a friend." And we took a picture. And when we went our separate ways, when the show closed, I moved back to Toronto, and I sent him the picture. And when I had to come up with a name, I had found 3 pennies that day, or 2 or 3 pennies, and I called it My Lucky Penny Productions. I'm quite stuck. Could it be any more awkward?
Elena knows performing and entertaining is what makes her happy, and that's what she'll continue to do.
I want to be able to work with inspiring people at all times. I want to be surrounded in that great atmosphere. There are a lot of people that I want to work with, and theaters and companies and cities I want to try. So I just want to keep working. Whenever I'm working, I'm happy. Slams the door hard behind him.
I'm Peter Verge in Vancouver for The Express.
Or my mom did it with her mind.
The View magazine called Dianne and Me Essential Theater. It's running at the Studio 1398 here on Granville Island through the run of the Fringe. Now, the next group describes themselves as vaudeville, not Broadway, magic, not math, and has been described as live-action Pixar, which makes it even more interesting to know that it's a comedy all about death.
This Mask and Mime performance at the Vancouver International Fringe Festival tells the story of the elderly Mrs. Fisher and the Grim Reaper.
The play is basically set up that I come to visit this woman, Mrs. Fisher, and it's her time. I have a watch, and I check this watch, and whenever it's time, for me to pick up somebody, for them to go, I come. This particular day when I come to get Mrs. Fisher, she doesn't want to go.
Mrs. Fisher is a very spirited old lady. She's got a spark and a fire, and so when death comes for her, he gets surprised by this woman who's ready to fight him off.
Kate designed and created both masks by hand.
These are actually paper mache. People often think they're foam or rubber or something like that, but they're good old paper and glue, really.
One of the most difficult things with the mask is that it's larger than our head. On Kate's mask, the eyes line up with the actual eyes, but for Grim, I actually look out the nostrils, and then we have some holes in the sides that make a limited vision straight ahead, but most of my vision in the play is looking down.
Aside from the technical difficulties of working with masks, the subject of Grim and Fisher also posed some challenges.
We set out to make a comedy about death, but we also didn't want to make light of the subject. So we always took to heart that it's a very serious subject and what the really high stakes are in that situation. We really do go from broad humor to making you cry, and it's all the same world, all the same play.
On Granville Island in Vancouver, I'm Kendall Harris for The Express.
Grim and Fisher won Best of the Fest in both Calgary and Edmonton this year, and Pick of the Fringe in Victoria. Which reminds me, when you're seeing shows here in Vancouver, don't forget to vote for your favorites. Now we've got a spotlight on some of the other shows people are talking about. Winner of the 2008 Vancouver Pick of the Fringe, it's The Shakespeare Show. If you have a love for language, physical comedy, and intelligent wit, then this is a show for you. Join the Master of Ignorance, a motivational speaker ordinaire, and learn how to use your power of ignorance to realize dreams and achieve goals you never even knew you had. Fringe favorite TJ Daw tells intertwining stories of 3 horrible jobs in this 10th anniversary remount of his most acclaimed and popular show. The Vancouver International Fringe Festival runs in and around Granville Island until September the 18th. After that, it's the Pick of the Fringe and Pick Plus, September 21st through the 25th. We're going to leave you with highlights from a few of the other shows. We want to thank you for supporting independent theater and for watching The Express. Happy fringing, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, so I made this helmet, and I lined the inside with shiny stuff to act like a satellite dish for your brain. And it's gonna amplify your subconscious brainwaves and focus all of your brainwaves into a beam, right? And then I'm gonna plug my brain into that beam. And then we're gonna connect our subconscious brains and drop into a dream together. Okay, so I will be the vessel for the dream. So I will download the dream into my body and live through it kind of like sleepwalking, but not. Okay? Okay, so let's do this.